Last year at a Senior Leader Mission Generation course, Lieutenant General Burt Field challenged us as wing commanders to exercise every muscle we have, to exercise our full designed operational capability, to exercise our full war mobilization plan, to exercise every bone in our organizations. He and the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Mark Welsh, know that an Air Force not as big as it has been in the past, that we've got to use every ounce of it to be effective. We get the opportunity to exercise our most likely mission often in red flags and the named contingency operations that we do across the world, including theater security packages. What we don't get the opportunity to do is exercise our full DOC capability as laid out in our war mobilization plans and exercise at the sortie rates for an enduring time throughout those plans. The first challenge in executing an exercise of this magnitude for the Air National Guard is calling our citizen airmen to duty. Shortly after our airmen began their summer camp, the 138th Fighter Wing did receive a deployment order. Our orders were to prepare all 21 PAA aircraft and associated maintenance and support to deploy to the exercise combatant theater within the minimal time as prescribed by our DOC. The largest portion of a wing's manpower, personnel, and assets is actually engaged in the support of the F-16s, where the end result is the airplane delivering armament onto enemy targets. What goes on behind the scenes is what we really wanted to exercise. First, we had to process all of the cargo.
Approximately 48 hours ago, we were given a short notice DEP order to deploy just over 225,000 pounds of cargo. Today we're loading that cargo on 15 trucks. We plan on getting everything accomplished today, and tomorrow we have a couple extra trucks thrown on top of it due to the security measures of those trucks. Today we're shipping cargo for the deployment up to Volk Field, and we are shipping everything from aircraft parts to their tools to what they need for weapons to get the mission accomplished. We're shipping the fuel tanks. Hazmat is tomorrow. Most of it is going out today, just over 225,000 pounds. So.
We had to out-process every single airman of the 600 and load them on military airlift to get them up there into theater.
And that's whether you eat in the chow hall or not.
We had to make sure that everyone was fed. In this capacity, we needed 1,800 meals a day for approximately 10 days. Just that alone was a tremendous feat.
My team has been on the ground working rapidly, trying to make sure that when those individuals hit the ground, all they have to think about is their job. Services, we had a very small contingent here, and they were working extremely long hours. They were stuffing those packets, making sure that they had labels with names, validating that we had the right key to the right person, that we didn't double up rooms, that we had males versus females. It was quite a dynamic undertaking to make sure that we had everything right, because we wanted to kick this off the right way. And that means making sure that our airmen got on the ground, came in. They didn't have to worry about where's my room, where's my key, do I have to wait in lodging lines, none of that. We made it fast so that they could get in, get their luggage, get their room, get their meals, and then get to work.
For years and years, our airmen are used to 100% ATO execution. However, that is basically the ATOs we've been executing are less than 100% of our design capability. What we had to have 100% of is we needed 100% of bed space for our airmen to bed down. for real. We could not accept 80% of the meals being able to be served once we were at a deployed location. We couldn't accept 80% of our fuel available. Once our air tasking order began at our deployed location, the war began and it could not stop. Our airmen responded, dividing their forces into separate shifts, dividing supervision of those forces into separate shifts. We would have shift changes with airplanes airborne. We would have continuity of maintenance going on one aircraft, having to transition from one maintainer to the next. We would have some people coming into our dining facilities eating breakfast for dinner and dinner for breakfast, and they don't even know what lunch is. And 48 hours ago, they were at home in their beds in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When we got to our deployed location, the weather was less than desirable, and we had had so much invested, so many muscle movements, so many people deployed, that having the weather stop us was just not a possibility. Your Air Force operates in all weather conditions around the clock in any case. Where we were deployed, we had a single runway, and we were carrying some heavyweight ordnance that in a training environment like we were, just didn't make sense to actually fly these munitions up and land them on a wet runway with one piece of concrete. In order to get the full results out of this exercise, we went ahead, loaded, prepared, and taxied these aircraft off the maintenance ramp as if they were going to actually fly, held at the end of runway, and then recalled those aircraft as if they had flown the mission. Then we had our weapons and ammunitions loaders unload and reload those weapons just as if those weapons had been expended, to make sure that we were exercising the full muscle movement of our combat capability, resulting in the realistic sortie generation that would be accomplished had we been flying those weapons anyways. The difference being, in a real combat situation, we would drop those weapons. When executing an air tasking order at the full war mobilization rates, those numbers equate to approximately, in one day, we were flying just shy of the numbers of sorties that we normally fly in an entire week here at home. And our weekly rate is actually quite robust. It is a different tempo for our maintainers, for our pilots, for our support crew. The demand on our aircraft and our personnel were something like we had not seen before, and certainly not exercised recently. In just the preparation and the planning to run this exercise, the lessons learned were astounding. Until you reach for that last increment and you get every ounce of strength that you have out of your organization, even the organization itself doesn't believe that it exists or that they can pull it off. In our objectives of setting this exercise, it wasn't to execute 100% of everything tasked. It was to try to execute everything that was tasked. In just the planning purposes for that, the lessons learned fill up an entire notebook.
Well, when you hear the number 21 and the understanding of what you know it's going to take to get 21 airplanes from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Volk Field, it is a daunting task, to say the least. So in your mind, you're almost setting the bar below 21 before you even get out of the gate. Like I said, never doubting the men and women of the 138th Maintenance Group, but more doubting, could the system actually support this? Could we get the parts? Could we get the funding? Could we really make all of this stuff happen? Through this, I just made sure that people, hey, just focus on your area. Focus on what your skill set is, and don't be overwhelmed, I said, with the totality. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about resources. Don't worry about those things. I go, that's my job, and that's the wing commander's job. Let us take care of those things. You focus on your skill set Chiefs, you focus on leading these airmen, making sure that they understand what their jobs are, and we will make sure that they're properly resourced, properly paid, get through this entire thing.
I will tell you that every airman in the 138th Fighting Wing knows what they're capable of and knows what their Air Force is capable of. There's nothing like having to actually leave your office knowing that your comforts are not going to be where you end up in your deployed location. Your communication plan may be completely different. Our own command and control plan that we use every day at home does not work at the deployed location, and in this case it didn't work. We made a new plan in short order by some of the really smart people that we have in our wing, and in less than half a day we had a complete other command and control system at work, and it worked very, very well, although improvised at the time. With this Air Force inspection system, there's no reason not to be as bold as we have the ability to be as commanders, to test our organizations to the absolute fullest. It may be that we're given credit at Red Flag. It may be that we're given credit when we're going overseas with a portion of our design capability to execute the mission and to get credit for mission execution. But we don't test the entire might of our Air Force. At a deployed location, having to eat, reside, wake up, work with your fellow airmen, unlike on a normal go home, go to work cycle, is irreplaceable for the realism of this training exercise. This exercise could simply not have been executed at home. The base we deployed to, Volk Field, Wisconsin, is a combat readiness training center. Without that CRTC, there would be no base for us to actually go inhabit as Base X. The capability to have a basic warm base with no other inhabitants there that we would go actually infill as an Air Force unit as we would in real life is immeasurable and hard to quantify in dollar terms. Even though the airmen of the Air National Guard come from a multitude of civilian employers in civilian situations, even though they don't spend majority of their month working on combat capability of the United States Air Force, they can come together at an exercise like this and execute at the full rate designed by the war planners of the United States. The confidence that they came home with is not accruable on any spreadsheet or any chart that I've seen in any conference. I think we came home with every airman knowing that they had a part and feeling a little bit more proud about their service in today's Air Force and our Air National Guard.
They were able to push themselves to the limit, prove themselves to their supervisors that they are the next generation of the Air Force. These guys and gals you could see the pride in them welling up, that they were able to be a part of such a huge undertaking and know that when it was done, they were successful.
You know, one of the most difficult things that you do as a commander in these type of situations is that, you know, you have to push, and then you have to push some more. You have to push again, and again, and again. And then, you know, in the back of your mind, you're going, how far can I push? There's a breaking point. Everybody's got one. You know, but what I quickly reminded them of is that I said, we are at our best, okay, when we're our most stressed and overtasked. And we are at our happiest when we're successful. And then as you see that successes, you see that 21st airplane landing at Volk and everybody looking up in the sky and going, wow, there's Tulsa 2-1. We did it. We did.
So I had a conversation with one of our airmen the other day, and I said, what makes you tick? Why do you come in here? Why do you do this job? And it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about service. I'm sorry. It's about service to this great nation.
I want to say thank you to each and every airman of the 138th Fighting Wing for being so professional, so sound, and such an asset to the United States of America. Thank you to every airman in the 138th Fighting Wing. Without you, we've got nothing.